Item 4 is a copy of a proposed property sale agreement, which I believe everybody should have a copy of. Of course, I'll find it in my office. But you need to read it. I don't think I need to read the entire thing because there's a whole bunch of pages to it, and it's mostly legalese. But
it does need to be modified slightly if you
Yes.
decided to go forward with this, but this is the basic contract.
right. And this contract has been reviewed between both the O&G attorneys and, of course, Attorney Stanek on our behalf. Quickly, the agreement is, if we choose to enact it, is between the town of Beacon Falls and O&G Industries for the parcel of land that is adjacent to the municipal garage on Locust Road. It's a parcel of approximately 5.5 acres, and the high points of the contract, if you will, is that O&G would remit the property to the town for the amount of $1 and other valuable consideration at a date and time to be determined, and that on the anniversary of the 15th year of the agreement, that if O&G, by mutual agreement between us and them, decides that they want to take the land back, we would sell it back to them for that same dollar or other valuable consideration, but that the agreement would extend if they fail to act after 15 years for an additional 5-year period, when it would be considered again. That's a good rough summary of it, right, Fred?
If I may just clarify
Please.
one point, at the end of 15 years, O&G would have the absolute
right.
if it wishes to, well, if it wishes to repurchase the property for $1.
Okay.
By mutual agreement, that's what the mutual agreement is. The two parties could agree to extend that option to repurchase for 5 more years.
And that was discussed with them. Originally, we discussed the agreement to be enforced for a period of 20 years in continuously, and O&G felt like, well, they wanted to have a little bit of play in that if they were to decide. But one of the things that we know is that O&G has actually done a survey of the property out there to see if there was anything of any value from their perspective. They're a gravel company, so they've done test borings and things like that. And there's no like bank run gravel or anything in there that is a viable commercial commodity that is on that piece of property. So the likelihood of O&G enacting that option after the end of 15 years is admittedly, from both perspectives, fairly remote. They just wanted the flexibility to be. So that's what that is. Fred, is there anything else that you'd like to highlight in this before we have any additional questions?
Not with regard to the agreement itself. If you wish, I'll address the title issue at some point.
We can talk about the title issue now if you like, just so that everybody has a full picture before we go forward.
We had our title searcher conduct a title search of the premises, and we also brought in Dave Nafis from Nafis and Young, because the title searcher was not able to completely piece together from the larger parcel all the pieces that went in and out of the larger parcel over time. She is not able to certify title. That title is absolutely 100% cert, so we will not be receiving what's called insurable title, but we will receive what's called a quitclaim deed and the title for whatever it is. So we would not receive a warranty deed.
But
It's because several parcels went out of a larger parcel over time, and the descriptions are very poor. And Dave Nafis is of the opinion this is the parcel. This is the parcel, the 5.5 acres, and our title searcher came up with a description for the parcel.
Right.
So I feel pretty good about, after reviewing her report, if any of you would like to review her report, you're welcome to do so. I know Chris has.
May have shared that, I can't remember, it was back in the summertime, and this discussion first started going on, which is why this process has been a little more lengthy, I think, than we originally expected that it might be. Just the way that the parcels are recorded in the land records down in the town clerk's office was far from clean, let's put it that way. And that added a level of complexity to this that we were not expecting, frankly, when we first started it out. So.
And I at first asked Dave Davis to complete a survey. He said it's not necessary. He's comfortable with the description that the title searcher came up with.
Right. And for the purposes that we're looking to use this parcel for anyway, there's no real dispute from either ONG or us as to what we're trying to accomplish with this, what the intended future use is going to be, and there's no controversy over it. So the fact that we have a quick claim Fred, in your opinion, it's not something that should prohibit us from taking action.
If the town was interested in developing the property, selling it down the road to an industrial user, for example, I'd be concerned because we cannot insure the title.
Sure.
But if it's going to be retained for municipal purposes, I don't have an issue.
Right. And that's what we're going for here. So.
Question, after the time limit of the lease, if we wanted to buy it.
Not a lease, it's
Well,
purchase.
purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it is a little confusing.
Right.
Well, if it's a purchase, we own it, but it's also we're selling it back
Yes.
in that time period.
Mm-hmm.
So if they agree for us to buy it at the end of that, again, am I wording it right?
If ONG takes no action at the end of 20 years, the town will own the property in perpetuity.
That's what I want to know. Okay.
And actually, it could be within 15 years if they
It
so
could be
choose.
within 15 years with the extension of 5 years. The 5-year extension would be based upon the mutual agreement of the town and ONG.
Thank you.
Right. So there's a couple of scenarios in play here, just to summarize them quickly. After 15 years, ONG could say, we want the property back, subdivided once per adult. 15 years, they say, no, we've determined 15 years is long enough, we don't want it, and the town keeps it forever. Or we get to 15 years and they say, well, we're still not sure whether we want it or not, we just know that we don't want it right now, so we'll extend the agreement for an additional 5 years, and then we'll discuss it again at the 20-year mark. And then if we get to the 20-year mark, if they don't want it back, then we retain it in perpetuity.
Yes.
Is that a summary? That got it? Is that clear enough?
Better.
Okay, very good.
All right, so at 15 years, let's just assume that everything happens in 15 years.
Right.
ONG says they want it back. Town of Beacon Falls is now back in the same situation it is today, not having a site for bulky waste.
No, that's not true.
How is that not true? Well, we don't have a site for bulky waste.
We will, because what we're trying to head off is relocation of the solar panels that are on the site right now to an acceptable alternative site, which is the roof of the public works garage, which if we move the arrays to that location would create enough space for us to reinstitute that debris field, if you will. So the opportunity to do it again in that particular case, should that happen, is still there. It's still viable, okay?
So in other words, you're talking right now of putting a project together, planning to spend X number of dollars to move the solar panels.
15 years in the future, if it's necessary. And that's the situation that we're kind of in right now, because we don't have if we don't exercise this particular option, what's your alternative?
We have to find a different location to use for the bulky waste site.
And what would that location be?
I don't know. I mean, that's
We have a
not
location.
for
We
determine here.
have a location on the table right now. We've been looking at this for a couple of years, Mike. This is the one that has been brought to the table. You've had plenty of time to try and come up with an alternative site yourself. A lot of people have. This is the site that's in play right now, and it's the best possible option for us. And the likelihood of the 15-year option being enacted by ONG is so remote with an alternative plan that we have that could possibly solve the problem should it be enacted in that 1% chance, that I think that your fears are unfounded. Especially in light of the fact that you haven't brought an alternative to the table.
And that has nothing to do with it.
It has
I'm
everything.
talking
It has
about us
everything
having
to do with the table.
It has to do with the fact that, well, let me turn around and ask the question this way. What is your intention for a potential motion for this evening?
I believe our attorney has a motion that he prepared for us to discuss.
And based on that motion, does that mean that the town of Beacon Falls will be purchasing this piece of property? Based on our decision this evening?
If you act in the affirmative, you would be purchasing the property, subject to the right to repurchase by ONG, correct?
My concern, because I believe that's where you were heading with this, is that we've already spent a fair amount of money on attorney fees. We'll be taking over a piece of property to which there's, over the 15-year life, we'll be losing $79,000 in tax revenue. We have an estimated $150,000 to
Where exactly
build
did you
this
get that
site.
figure?
That has come from a number of people in the public who have looked at it and are involved with real estate, involved with construction, and involved with building out
I would submit
properties.
to you that that $150,000 figure is one wildly exaggerated. Two, it has no actual basis in fact and has been spread into the public for pejorative reasons. Therefore, there's absolutely no weight behind that number. You're bringing something in that has no basis.
All right, well, we definitely lose the tax dollars. And based on that, I believe that any purchase of this size goes beyond our $20,000 clip level, which means this should be going to the public to purchase this property, not a decision of this board.
I asked the municipal attorney, I asked this question before, if you could state your opinion, does the Board of Selectmen have the authority to enact a transaction of this type?
In my opinion, the Board of Selectmen has the authority to act in the affirmative to purchase this land.
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
Okay. So, Betkoski, do you have anything?
Well, in all fairness to Michael and you, we've known for years about this. And I've been racking my brain out looking for a new location.
As we all have.
I mean, I don't know if you have, Michael, at all.
I have looked at several sites, but none of them have panned out.
Absolutely
Okay.
right. Which is why we're at where we're at.
And-
And if I
Go
can
ahead.
get the floor, Pete, just for something, I wanted to add something, and I neglected it until now, so let me come back to it. Everybody that has been involved in this is probably aware, at least to some degree, that currently the town garage is already encroaching on that piece of property that ONG owns, and has been encroaching on that piece of property for probably the better part of 2, maybe 3 decades, okay? We have moved part of our transfer station area where we take refrigerators, big white heater and stuff like that. And that's a certain area of the public works garage. That is not on the town's footprint. That is in ONG's property right now, and it goes back years. So for us to write something that has been done improperly for many, many years, we've been getting that benefit for free from ONG all this time. So for us to make this right and make it be legal and have our operation be done on publicly owned property, this makes sense on so many different levels. Okay. Pete?
And you just stole some of my...
Sorry, didn't mean to do that.
Well, no, because we have been on their property for quite a few years.
Yes, we
and-
have.
And we gotta start looking outside the box. Theoretically, we don't know. As far as Public Works needs more room, we spend a lot of money on this equipment. We've had equipment stolen. Eventually, I would like to expand the Public Works garage and build a building for some more storage. So, I mean,
And if we can acquire industrial level property for $1, plus the cost of the tax revenue that we're giving up, but admittedly, the purchase price is $1. Even if you count $79,000 for X number of years of lost tax revenue on it, it still is a tremendous bargain. it's pennies on the dollar from what the value of the land is. Therefore, it is, there are so many good economic reasons to do this that the opportunity loss of not doing it far exceeds what the pure dollars and cents are, because we're so far ahead in the bargain by taking advantage of what is an actual bargain to us.
I mean, and we have to put out of the picture the solar panels. That's a whole nother topic,
Absolutely.
which I've been meaning to address with both these selectmen. I want the public to know exactly what we're making. Everyone's saying we're losing money, we're not losing money. I just don't have the figures at this moment. So, I mean, we have to put that aside, you know, because I don't want to bring politics into this, but in a small town, that's what's happening. And it's a no-brainer, actually, that we move forward. But I really don't feel comfortable making that decision tonight. And I think we can have a special meeting if we have to. But I mean, you're very educated, Michael. Look outside the box. I believe we're blessed that ONG is working with us.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. But I also happen to believe we're playing with the taxpayers' money, and therefore they should have the decision. And that's where I am, plain and simple. It's just plain and simple. So we have a motion on the table tonight. I will be voting no.
No, there's no
I will say right
we
now,
don't
I am not
act-
supporting this.
We don't actually have a motion.
I know we don't. I didn't say. If we have a motion on the table, I will not be supporting it tonight.
You will need to obtain, or you need to refer this matter to the Planning and Zoning Commission pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 8-24.
I referred the chairman of planning and zoning to you last week. I understood that he had had a conversation with you about that and what the responsibilities of P&Z are
I
in
have
this
not
issue.
spoken to him.
Okay, that is not my understanding.
Maybe he spoke with Attorney Byrne.
That's possible, but I may be confused about that. I was under the impression that he had spoken to you, because I had told him that you had the desire to speak with him about that, and I authorized him to get in contact with you directly. But if that hasn't happened, then that's a piece of the loop that needs to be closed. So for that reason alone, I'm willing to, at this time, I guess we'll postpone action on
Yes.
this as well.
And just one last question. Have we done an environmental study on this piece of property?
Yes, we have.
We have, the town has.
Yes, we have.
I don't remember seeing that, so if you get a copy of that, please.
ONG commissioned a report, and a copy was dropped off to your office. I've asked for it, and
My administrative assistant said that she provided it to your
Well,
office.
Cindy thought she had given it to me, but she gave me some other documents regarding an easement issue with ONG. I called today, I know Cindy wasn't in.
Right.
It must be in your office, but there is an environmental assessment.
Okay.
All right, well, I will tell you, I have a concern that the seller is telling us that their piece of property is great to buy, and that's not how we should be doing business. We should be doing this assessment ourselves and pay to have it done.
Well, if they have it in black and white, I mean, the environmental study
Absolutely,
probably
it stands on its own. I mean, if something comes up and the report has been falsified, there's actions that we can take in the future. I have very little concern.
I'd rather not get into that situation and have to go back after them for that kind of stuff. I
That's
think
why
it's just
we're not
something
gonna
to do.
act, and I think we nipped it tonight. Public's here, we're being transparent. Let's go slow and easy, we'll cross the Ts and dot the Is. We also have to know the state's watching us, because we do need a place for our brush,
Mhm.
ASAP, and I just
Once again,
want the best for the town.
find me an alternative. Mike.
I looked everywhere.
Find me an alternative. You've had years to look at it. Okay?
So it's my fault.
No, oh my.
I got it.
What
I
I'm-
got it. No,
what
there's
I'm-
the politics being played.
No, what I'm saying is you brought up the fact that
Don't worry
tonight
about it.
on
Don't
your
worry about
own.
it. Don't worry about it.
You brought
We'll
it up
start-
on, no.
So we'll start looking for a site. I know a couple of real estate people, we'll start looking.
No, I have the floor. You can't speak over me, okay? We give each other decorum.
Stop,
okay?
guys.
Please. Don't talk to me about politics.
Yeah, Chris, I was here, you know, I haven't been around a lot of these meetings, but I gotta tell you something. Let me just, my name is Art Daigle. I live on Blackberry Hill. You got me good? Okay. The one thing I do wanna say, you know, I've been reading about this and reading about it. Here we are at the 11th hour, and then Mike, you come up with all these questions. I mean, if I was gonna be against something, I would have every single point, I would have it all. And I would come here tonight and bombard them with all the facts and figures. I wouldn't come at the 11th hour, start asking all these, what about this, what about that? I don't hear no alternative.
Right.
And I think you're wrong for doing that. And as a citizen in the town of Beacon Falls, I'd buy that thing tonight, I wouldn't wait. It's a good deal, you heard nothing, no alternative things, buy it for the dollar.
And for the record, we received this on Thursday.
Are you allowed
Well,
to,
Mike,
you're
this
allowed
has been going
discussion?
on for how long?
You're allowed discussion? You just did.
I did.
So are you gonna open for discussion?
I will
Yeah, go ahead.
recognize for,
I'm sorry, I just,
it's okay.
sit down, listen.
I'll recognize for a period, a reasonable period, if there are comments from the public on this particular issue, because we're getting ready for regular comments from the public. That's the next item on the agenda, but if you'd like to, if there are people that would like to speak to this issue directly, I'll entertain it now.
Gerard Smith, 163 Lasky Road. We're looking at purchasing a piece of property, and I get it, we need a spot. We wouldn't need a spot if we didn't have the solar panels, but we do have the problem where we gave away the piece that's creating this issue that we have right now. For you guys to go ahead and move forward with a piece of real estate that the legislative body, the town, does not have say in to purchase, you may be able to do it. He says you can legally do it. I'd go to the word that was thrown out by the Board of Selectmen before, shenanigans by the Selectman's office, playing games with the issue that you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. We're looking to obligate the town to buy this piece of real estate, losing tax revenue, and then moving forward now. 10 years ago, we bought a piece of real estate on Wolf Avenue that is still sitting today and deteriorating because we didn't have a clear plan of what we wanted to spend. Then when we tried to get the taxpayers you're gonna need to go to, Peter, your developer, you're a builder, it's gonna cost us more than 20 grand to get that site ready for a DEEP permit? Probably. Maybe not 150, but it's gonna be more than 20. You're gonna have to come to the town eventually. So why don't you just do the right thing, bring it to the public for the purchase with an estimate of what it's gonna cost to improve it and the probability of getting the DEE permit. Then the town can make the decision whether you're gonna do it. Why would we end up with another Wolf Avenue? If the town says no, you're nowhere because you can't develop the piece. So bring it to the public, let the public make one decision on a well-thought-out plan so we don't end up with a Wolf Avenue or another solar panel issue.
Dino Borelli, 32 Kaylee's Way. Thanks, Jerry. I couldn't agree with you more. And something that I've asked and have never received from any of the selectmen is a plan. You have no plan. You're just going to buy this. And Peter says, oh, well, the solar panels save us money, but I don't know the numbers. Well, you know, I could say, well, Peter owes so-and-so amount in tax, but I don't have those numbers. So I think if you came back with a plan to say, okay, over 15 years, this is the cost, this is what we're gonna do, then I think the town should have a right in saying, like, if that's responsible to use town money as a collective body, if we agree to that. To make a decision tonight for you guys to say, okay, let's do it, it's a great deal, and I appreciate your comments, like, that's, yeah. But, you know, the solar panels have been up for how many years? And it's taken you this long, Chris, you've been in office as the first selectman, so now it's taken you 5 years to find a piece of property?
Not 5 years,
Okay, so how long has it been? 3?
about 2.
Okay. I know there was and I'll make this last comment. There was a payment penalty if we were to move those solar arrays. If we took the money that we spent to haul all the junk out, all the tree stuff out, and what we would eventually pay for this, I bet you that would probably offset what it would have cost to move some of those solar
If I
arrays.
could clarify your point, it did not cost the town a nickel to move anything that was on that site off. ONG moved off all the brush, ONG
I'm
moved
talking
off
about
all
the
the
tornado
debris.
brush that we paid.
We would
paid
still
to
have
get
been
out,
responsible
Chris,
for that.
the tornado brush that we
Yes.
moved to get
We
out.
still would have been
We would have had a
responsible for
place-
getting rid of it, and we
But
would
we
not
could
have.
have chipped stuff, we could have trimmed it down.
We would not
Parking
have had
lots could have used it
sufficient
in
room.
Matthews. We don't have a place to use
We
that,
would,
Chris.
Dino, we would not have had.
End of comment, thank you.
We would not have.
Point of
had-
order.
We would not have had.
Point of order.
sufficient- You cannot say point of order.
Then how did Ned Grace say point of order to me?
He was out of line. Let's,
Yeah, he
move
was
forward.
out of line.
Thank you,
Thank
Dino.
you.
Thank you. Let's,
Thank you for
let-
recognizing the fact that
let-
Ned Grace was out of
let me-
line.
let's move forward.
And actually, that's not true.
Okay,
That's not true.
I just wanna move forward.
The bottom line on this, Dino, is that there was insufficient room on the site that we had to store the debris from the tornado. It's all right.
Yes.
We discussed that with Public Works from the very beginning. That's why the last time that we had an event similar to this one, before my time in office, and I don't remember the specifics of it, but I've heard of it anecdotally, that we had to use Pent Road the last time we had, when we had that site on Locust Road to be able to move the debris into, because it was insufficient for the amount of stuff that we had to deal with.
Can I
It
speak
would
to
not
that?
have solved our problem.
Can I speak to that? We did actually, I was First Selectman at the time, and that was for Hurricane Albert, because we had taken in all the debris. We had it stacked where the solar panels are now, we overflowed that spot, and then we took the rest of the debris down to the Pent Road spot, and we actually got rid of all that debris, and it didn't cost us anything except for a match and one dumpster, because we burned both brush piles, and it didn't cost us anything but the dumpster cost to remove the ash.
That was a little less of a storm too, Jerry.
Actually, I talked to Jimmy Weed, and Jimmy Weed said, but the piles were about the same. And you know what? You can still burn brush. If you burn it 5 times, it's 5 dumpsters.
Good point.
Saved a lot of money.
So, the decision of the board is to, again, postpone action on agenda item 4 for tonight.
Yes.
And we'll be readdressing it,
In the near future.
yeah, at a date to be determined, either at a special meeting or at the
Yes.
next regular
Yep.
Board of Selectmen.